Hey, I'm Adam Jusko from ProudMoney.com. Is a credit scoring system overhaul on the way? Would a government-run credit scoring system be better than the current situation with the three big credit bureaus? That's what we are going to talk about in this video. But first, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So one of the things that frustrates people who are trying to build credit, maybe you are getting credit for the first time or you're trying to rebuild credit, is the sort of convoluted system of credit reporting and credit scoring that doesn't seem like it always makes sense, oftentimes is counterintuitive. Does it make sense that if you pay off a loan, your credit score goes down? Doesn't seem like that should be the way. Does it make sense that if you have $3,000 of debt on a $5,000 credit card, that is somehow worse than if you have $3,000 of debt on a credit card with a $10,000 credit line? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. Does it make sense that you pay your rent and your utilities and your cable and your phone bill on time and none of that goes into the credit scoring formula? That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense either. And how is it that three major private for-profit companies are getting all of our financial data that they can use and sell to other companies as well without any of our approval and with really nothing we can do about it and not knowing how it's even being used? These are all valid questions, and that is why Joe Biden's administration has put forth a proposal to create a new government-run credit reporting agency within the existing Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The idea behind it is to make all of this stuff more transparent so that you can more easily see what's on your credit report. You could more easily understand what goes into the credit scoring model that is used to come up with a credit score for you, instead of having all of these private companies having your information, using it in ways that don't necessarily make sense to you, or they won't tell you exactly how it is being used. So once you have this central location here within the government, well then all of this stuff will be easily accessible and everyone will be sort of working off the same set of assumptions of what a good credit score is and how you get one. Now, in addition to you maybe having better access to your credit score and your credit reports, there also is the matter of how credit reports and how credit scores even get used out in the marketplace. So yeah, it makes sense if you're going after a loan that they may look at your credit score to see how you have handled credit in the past, but why would your credit report be used when you are potentially going after a new job or for housing or for anything that doesn't have to do with you actually trying to borrow money? It is sort of using your financial history as the complete picture of who you are as a person, no matter what you might be doing, and that doesn't seem so fair either. So looking at this proposal, it is hard to feel too sorry for any of the credit reporting agencies or FICO or Vantage Score, anyone sort of involved in this private credit scoring system that currently exists, because so much of this information has been held back from us as consumers. We don't know what the credit reporting agencies have on us. We don't know how the credit scoring system works. The government had to step in and force the credit reporting agencies to allow you to at least see your credit report one time per year without having to pay for it. And for a long time you had to pay to get your credit score, and in many cases you still sort of do have to pay to get your credit score. There are more ways to get it for free through credit cards or through things like Credit Karma and all that kind of stuff. But one way or another, you're either already using a financial product and they're giving it to you as, you know, sort of an extra, or they are using your credit score as a come-on to get you into their service to try to market other things to you. As a consumer, it feels like you should just be able to see your credit score without having to go through some sort of maze in order to do so. Now, with all that said, you might think that I would be very much in favor of this new public credit reporting agency, but I'm not really sure that I am. I definitely am on board with some things like not using your credit score as a basis for, you know, potentially a job or your insurance rate or anything of that nature. But in terms of the government being the one to control the whole credit scoring and credit reporting system, not so sure there. So the Biden administration proposal is layered on top of a proposal from a think tank called Demos that came up with this idea of the government-run credit reporting agency, saying it would be more transparent, be more equitable, especially to people of color who have, because of structural racism, traditionally been kept out of many financial products, maybe because they live in certain neighborhoods or they've been given higher rates on their insurance and on their loans and all sorts of things. So the idea is that this agency would come up with a new credit scoring algorithm that would be more equitable, more fair, more understandable. But the question I have is, who is going to come up with this new credit scoring algorithm, and how are we going to know that it is better than the credit scores that we have now? FICO came up with the idea of credit scoring. They originated the model and they have iterated over time, so hopefully their credit scores are giving lenders more and better information on how to profitably lend to more people. They have every motivation to make their scores better and better for lenders. Now, if they are getting information that only includes credit cards and mortgages and auto loans and maybe a few other kind of loans, and they're not hearing about, that you've paid your rent on time and that you've paid your utilities and all that sort of stuff, well, is that FICO's fault, or is that a different fault within the system where that data is never being reported in the first place? So is this new government-run credit reporting agency going to mandate that every landlord in America has to report to the credit reporting agencies, and every utility and Netflix and Verizon and anyone that you are paying to on a regular basis to show that you make payments when you deal with these companies? That would be great, but it is a huge burden to put on all these different companies, and a lot of these companies don't have any skin in the game in terms of getting anything back for it. So are they just going to make them have to pay and spend the time in order to report to the credit reporting agencies, even though there's really nothing in it for them? So while the existing credit reporting and credit scoring system is far from perfect, it is hard to see how the government comes up with something that is better. How are they getting more information that would benefit you into the credit scoring system? How are they going to come up with an algorithm that is better than what FICO has come up with after decades of trying? And remember that we are talking about a proposal being put forth by the Biden administration. The Biden administration will not be in charge forever. If a new administration comes in that is hostile to this whole idea of having a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in the first place, much less a credit reporting agency within that bureau, well, then they could simply gut the whole thing, put someone in charge who is actually an enemy of the bureau, keep that name in place, but make sure that it doesn't do any of the things that it was intended to do when it was created. That doesn't seem all that far-fetched. So this DEMOS proposal that seems to have been embraced by the Biden administration calls for this government-run credit reporting agency to be the only one that exists anymore. So it would phase out the current ones. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion would go away completely, and all lenders would have to use that central system. Well, if you look forward into the future and you see an administration that perhaps is hostile to this idea of a government-run credit reporting agency, and they don't put any resources behind it, well, then perhaps lenders don't have confidence in the reporting and the scores they are getting from the government. So what do? They come up with their own internal scoring systems. And where do they get the data for their internal scoring systems? From people they have already lent to. So instead of having a system where it sort of opens things up to more people being qualified for loans and having higher credit scores, you then could have lenders that are creating their own little systems and only lending to people that they have lent to before. So now you have actually narrowed things instead of widening them. Now, if I'm not totally on board with the idea of a central credit reporting agency run by the government, that doesn't mean that I think it is a bad idea to try new things or to try and put some pressure on the credit reporting agencies and these credit scoring systems. Maybe you do have a central credit reporting agency, but you have it sort of in competition with what exists. So the government tries to get more data into its credit reporting agency. Maybe it gives its credit scores for free to lenders and says, you can use these and you don't have to pay for them. Well, then all of a sudden the lenders have to decide, do I want the free score that seems like it works okay, or do I want to keep paying for what I have? Now, it's not ideal for the government to be competing against private business, but if they feel like the system is not working the way it should, this is one place where they have some power to try to change some things. And the government hasn't necessarily been shy in the past about putting its nose into private business if it feels like this is a way to help more consumers. They've definitely done it in the mortgage market. So if you have to subsidize some loans or subsidize some credit cards in order for lenders to give out more of them and give them some cushion when those people default, well, then maybe these are some of the things that the government does as well. So I don't think they should be in charge of everything, but if they they want to use the power of the government to try to influence the market overall, that may not be a bad thing. So I think the goals of the Biden administration are good here in terms of more fairness, more transparency, but throwing everything out that exists, starting from scratch, funneling everything through a central agency controlled by the government doesn't seem like a smart way to go. It seems like there have to be some other tactics that could be used that are perhaps a little more surgical, perhaps that public option of offering scores to lenders but not forcing them to all go through the government is part of the way to get where they want to go. I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole matter. Put those in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.